Hello! Thank you for tuning in. Today we are going to be talking about marker training, or more colloquially called clicker training. Now, before moving forward, there are a few things I want to get out of the way. First is that I will be using the terms marker and clicker interchangeably throughout the duration of this video, and I will also be using the terms rewarding and reinforcing almost interchangeably throughout this video. This is because these terms are largely, interchangeable. Please note that I will be using treats as rewards in this video, but it's super important to note that different dogs prefer different rewards. Some dogs prefer praise as a reward, some dogs prefer food and treats, which is what I will be using in our examples, while other dogs consider play a reward, such as throwing a ball. So make sure to gauge what your dog finds most rewarding before choosing what you will use for reinforcement with clicker training. Now, last but not least, you will see that for treats, I will be drawing a picture of a bone moving forward. Please never feed your dog actual bones. This is very dangerous. I am simply using a bone to represent treats because of my lack of art skills. Okay, now back to clicker training. Clicker training is debatably the most effective method of training a new behavior in an animal, and it is incredibly user-friendly, which for us just starting to learn about training is a huge bonus. Clicker training is so incredibly effective because it involves the perfect application of positive reinforcement, which, if you don't know what that is, in a nutshell, it's rewarding desired behaviors, usually with something like a treat or something else desirable, and simply ignoring or not rewarding those undesired behaviors. This has been shown to be the most effective form of training dogs and people. Number 2, it is a fun and enriching experience for the learner, which is always a wonderful bonus. It targets desired behaviors precisely, so we can teach new behaviors relatively quickly and they retain it well. And last but not least, and arguably most importantly, it provides us with a means of communicating clearly with our learner, even though we speak very different languages. Now, how does clicker training work? Clicker training is when you use a clicker, or a designated auditory marker, to communicate to your learner when they have completed a desired behavior. Super simplified, you mark and reward behaviors you like, and you simply ignore and do not mark nor reward behaviors that you do not like. For example, let's say you want a standing dog to sit. The second the dog sits down, you click and then immediately give that dog a treat. By doing this, you are effectively telling the dog they have completed a behavior you are looking for, the sit behavior, and they are about to receive a reward for said behavior, the treat. In short, the sound predicts the treat. Now, it is important to note that this technique only works if the designated marker, such as a clicker, is kept consistent. If you change your marker, your learner will not understand the message. In short, consistency is the key to proper communication between you and the animal in training. So if you would like your marker to be a click, it must remain a click. If you would like your marker to be verbal, such as saying yes, make sure that you say this marker consistently. Remember, to a dog, yes versus yes are all very different and ergo mean different things. So if you select a verbal marker, make sure that the marker is not only consistent in what word you choose, but also in how you say that word. This is ultimately why clickers are so highly recommended. They are simply far more consistent than us humans. Now, it is also important to note that marker or clicker training is not called praise training. And this is for a very important reason. Clicker training uses positive reinforcement as it only rewards that which is desired and simply ignores that which is not desired. During clicker or marker training, though, the point of the marker or clicker sound is not to provide praise. The point is to tell the dog that they have completed a behavior that you are looking for. You are marking that behavior, and that their efforts are about to be rewarded with the treat. Praise should come after this whole process to allow the dog to focus and understand your communications to them in the moment. Now, there are 7 distinct steps in clicker training an animal that has never undergone this process before. Those steps include priming, choose, antecedent arrangement, break it down, part 1, using frustration bursts, continuing to break down our steps, And finally, putting the behavior on a cue. Priming is the first step in this process, and it is only required for animals that have never undergone clicker training previously, or for animals who are used to one marker and are now changing to a new marker due to switch in ownership usually. We made a whole video on priming specifically if you would like more details, but in short, priming is teaching your learner that when they hear their marker, they are about to get a treat. The easiest way to accomplish this is simply to click the clicker and then immediately give the dog a treat, and then repeat this several times until the dog learns that click means treat. Step 2 is choosing what behavior you want and draft a clear, stepwise training plan for achieving that goal behavior. The emphasis here is on stepwise, and we will be using the stepwise process moving forward. Step 3 is antecedent arrangement. So now we are starting to arrange our environment to prepare for our training plan that we have crafted in step 2. What is antecedent arrangement? Well, basically it's a fancy way of saying environment surrounding the learner is conducive to learning and that we are setting them up for success by minimizing distractions. Antecedent arrangement also includes ensuring that the desired behavior is always offered as a choice. There should be no use of force, fear, nor punishment anywhere in this process, and the learner always has the option to leave if they so choose. Now that our learner is in a prime learning environment, next we have breaking it down into small steps. This is where we start applying our training plan from step 2 by marking via a click, followed immediately by reinforcing by tossing a treat, any behavior that is remotely similar to what you are going for. You'll notice I said tossing a treat. This is because we want to allow our learner the opportunity to reset, quote unquote, after completing a behavior. Do not throw the treat, just give it a gentle toss when giving treats to allow the learner to reset themselves in their environment and then offer that desired behavior again. An example that could be used here is the classic example of training a dog to go into a box. Your first step here may be to click and then immediately give a treat every time the dog even looks at the box in question. And then repeat this step at least 10 times or until the dog learns that you want them to look at the box for now. Next we have frustration bursts. So in our example, we effectively taught the dog to look at the box. But how do we get the dog to go into the box? Well, you incrementally reward behaviors that are closer and closer to the final desired behavior. To do this, we often use something called a frustration burst, where we withhold reinforcement until the dog completes a behavior slightly closer to our final desired behavior. So in our example, that could be the dog, let's say, touching the box in any way. So we've gone from looking to touching. This is called using a frustration burst because if you withhold reinforcement for a behavior that was previously getting rewarded, like looking at the box, a dog will tend to start offering new yet similar behaviors in order to receive reinforcement again, such as touching the box. It is important to note that the dog should never undergo a frustration burst for more than 20 seconds, otherwise they will be inclined to lose interest. If a dog becomes confused or frustrated for too long, go back to a previous step, like in our example that would just be looking at the box, repeat it at least 10 times, and then try progressing again. This brings us to step 6 of breaking it down into small steps, part 2. This is where we essentially repeat steps 4 and 5, but incrementally increase the criteria for reinforcement. An example of a logical progression can be found here. Feel free to pause if you are curious about this progression, otherwise, let's move on. It is important to repeat each outline step that you have crafted in your training plan at minimum 10 times, or until it is clear that the dog understands what you are looking for that step, whichever one comes later. And then finally, we have putting the behavior on a cue. This should only be done when the final goal behavior has been completed many times in a row successfully. They complete this desired behavior completely, and the final desired behavior can be offered reliably or predictably. In short, You should be able to bet money on this dog completing this desired behavior, which in our example means that the dog is now a pro at getting its whole body into the box and will do so by choice again and again and again and again, fluently and predictably, in order to receive its reinforcement. The best way to teach a learner a cue for a behavior is to have the learner complete the final desired behavior, like going into a box, clicking, then giving a treat, and then immediately saying the word that you would like to be paired with this behavior. And hand gestures work too. Oftentimes we pair a hand gesture with a word, or you can just do one or the other. So in our example, the sequence is now dog goes into a box, dog hears a click, dog gets a treat, dog hears someone say the word box, dog goes into the box, dog hears a click, dog gets a treat, dog hears the word box, over and over and over again, until eventually the dog pairs completing the desired behavior with the word box, which can then eventually be used to prompt the learner to go into the box when they hear the word box. Remember, throughout this entire process, nothing is wrong, but some things are just not deserving of reinforcement, meaning you should only click and give a treat for desired behaviors and simply withhold clicking and rewarding when there's an undesired behavior. Thank you so much and happy training!